It all started with a sound. Not music, but a vibration. Deep, barely perceptible, like the breath of the earth just before dawn. First, one person heard it, then another. They stopped. They looked at each other. Time seemed to hesitate. On the stage, though that word seems too small, there was a silence as thick as fog. Cold, focused light flowed down from above, cutting them off from the world. They were no longer human. Not yet. Their bodies began to move, guided by an invisible impulse. Every step, turn, and tilt had a meaning that no one could express in words. They looked as if they were trying to remember something, something that had slipped away long ago, before language was created. They were a group, yet each one was separate. Their bodies overlapped, blurred, disappeared in motion, only to return in a different form a moment later. Their faces flashed like memories. Anger, relief, fear, tenderness, all mixed together in a single choreography of existence. From a distance, one might think it was a dance, but for them, it was something else. It was a reminder. Each of them carried within them the echo of something lost. The woman in front, the one who seemed to be leading, had a gaze that pierced the darkness. There was desperation in her movements, as if she were trying to break through an invisible barrier. Each of them carried within them the echo of something lost. The woman in front, the one who seemed to be leading, had a gaze that pierced the darkness. There was desperation in her movements, as if she were trying to break through an invisible barrier. The man next to her, broad-shouldered, his hands spread like wings, looked as if he wanted to stop her, even though he knew he couldn't. Their bodies passed each other, intertwining in a rhythm that no one had set, but which everyone knew. Like the pulse of the universe, beating in the rhythm of now. A viewer, if there had been one, might have felt uneasy, because this movement was not just a dance. It was an echo of something deeper, perhaps life itself in its purest form, the constant transition between creation and decay. Because this blurred image hides a forgotten truth. We are made of movement, of energy that never disappears. It only changes form. With each gesture, the movement became more intense, less human, more primal. As if they were entering another dimension, one where time does not flow linearly, and each breath is both the beginning and the end. It is unclear when it happened, but at some point the boundary between them disappeared. From a distance, it looked as if all their bodies had melted into one. It was impossible to distinguish a hand from an arm, a man from a woman, the beginning from the end. A single organism was created, a single heart beating at a rhythm incomprehensible to the mind. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, everything stopped. Only the image remains, a frozen frame that now looks at you from its frame, a moment suspended between inhalation and exhalation. Some say that this photo depicts dancers. Others say that it depicts spirits that have not found peace. There are also those who see something more in it, a metaphor for the soul that splits apart and returns to unity until it understands that it never really fell apart. But the truth is, this photo does not show people. It shows a process. It captures the moment when the individual dissolves into the collective, when the ego gives way to something greater. It is the moment when I becomes we, and we becomes a movement that no longer needs a name. If you look closely, you will see that none of these bodies are still. Each one trembles as if it were still in motion, even when frozen. That is why this image is alive, even though it is enclosed in a frame. What has been captured is not dance. It is the moment of transition itself. Some say that if you stare at it long enough, you begin to hear the echo of that first tremor, the one that started it all, a subtle movement under your ribs, reminding you that everything inside you is in motion. Blood, breath, thoughts, memories. And then you begin to understand that this scene is not happening on stage at all. It is happening inside you. That these people, these blurred figures, these overlapping silhouettes, are all versions of you, trying to meet at a single point. This is not a photograph of dance. It is a photograph of memory, and of how life dances within us, even when we seem to be standing still.